Today marks exactly 783 days since I last saw my sweet Isabella, and 3 years, 4 months, and 5 days since Matteo, my Matteo, last called. My name is Elena. I am 92 years old. 92 years, and the silence in this little room is so loud it deafens me. I'm going to tell you how I raised those 2 precious children, Isabella and Matteo, from the moment they were tiny babies, wiped their tears, braided their hair, taught them their ABCs, and today, they don't even know my phone number. They changed the locks on the old house. If you have grandparents or children who might one day become parents, please listen to the end. It might save your family from a pain like mine. Every morning I run my fingers over the little wooden horse Matteo carved for me in elementary school. He was so proud. And Isabella, my little Isabella, she used to sing to me while I cooked, her voice like a tiny bird. I remember those days. I remember them vividly. I spent my life for them. I sacrificed everything. And now I pretend to be busy with the crossword puzzle, so the nurse doesn't notice I'm just watching the door, hoping for a shadow that never comes. I still pay for Matteo's old car insurance, the one he said he couldn't afford anymore, even though he abandoned me years ago. It's a small secret, a foolish hope that maybe, just maybe, he'd remember. My heart trembles, not just from age, but from the raw, aching longing for a simple hug, a forgotten birthday call. My children never had time, so I raised their children, and now their children don't have time for me. It's a cruel irony. But to understand how I got here, how I, Elena, ended up in this silence, clutching old wooden toys, I need to go back to the days when we were happy, back to a time when secrets were just whispered promises and not devastating truths found in old letters. It's been 1,247 days since my son, my own flesh and blood, last answered my phone. 1,247 days. The number carves itself into my memory, sharper than any knife. But I remember when he used to call me, my queen, his little voice muffled against my apron as I cooked, the sweet smell of vanilla and cinnamon filling the kitchen. I remember the warmth of a full Christmas table, the clinking of glasses, Matteo's boisterous laughter echoing, Isabella's sweet singing. If you knew what I discover at the end of this story, the dark secret hidden in those dusty old letters, maybe there would still be time for you not to make the same mistake my children did. My story, the real story, began not with my own children, but with theirs. My son David and his wife. Well, they were always busy. Too busy for children, they said. Too busy for a baby, then 2. So, Isabella and Matteo, my little blessings, came to live with me when Isabella was just 2 years old, a tiny whirlwind with eyes like polished chestnuts, and Matteo was still in diapers, a babbling, chubby-cheeked bundle of joy. My daughter, Sarah, she had her own struggles, her own life that pulled her away, further and further. So, I became their mother, their grandmother mother, their rock. I remember Matteo's first steps in our sun-drenched living room, his arms outstretched, reaching for me. Abuela, abuela, he'd shriek, tumbling into my embrace. And Isabella, my curious little explorer, she'd spend hours in my garden, naming every flower, convinced the daisies whispered secrets to her. Their parents were shadows, occasional visitors who brought gifts, but never the steady presence, the consistent love, the unwavering support that children need. I was that presence. I was there for every scraped knee, every lost tooth, every sleepless night spent battling childhood fevers. I taught Isabella to braid her long dark hair, patiently untangling the knots, telling her stories of brave princesses and magical forests. I taught Matteo how to fix his broken toy cars, how to kick a football, how to be kind. We spent countless afternoons in the park, their tiny hands clutching mine, their laughter a melody I still hum in my lonely heart. Wait, I haven't told you the part that makes me cry every night yet. It wasn't just the everyday things, you see. It was the big moments. When Matteo had his first school play, a wobbly sheep in the nativity, David and Sarah said they had a business trip, but I was there, front row, my heart bursting with pride as my little Mateo bleated his lines. I recorded it on my old camcorder, the tape still sitting in a box somewhere, a testament to a love they never knew, or perhaps chose to ignore. And Isabella, my bright little star, when she won the regional spelling bee, her parents were stuck in traffic. I drove 2 hours, my old car sputtering, just to see her shine. Her hug, tight and fierce, was my reward. "You're the best, abuela," she'd whispered. And for a long time that was enough, more than enough. It was everything. I wasn't a rich woman, not by any means. I had my pension and the small house that had been passed down through generations. But for Isabella and Mateo, I would stretch every penny, deny myself so they could have new school uniforms, books, a trip to the beach that they still talk about, though I doubt they remember who took them. Mateo wanted to learn guitar. I took extra shifts at the community center, folding laundry, cleaning, just so he could have lessons. Isabella dreamed of being a dancer. I sewed her leotards by hand, stayed up late searching for affordable classes. My own dreams, my hobbies, they faded into the background. There was no time for them. There was only time for my precious grandchildren. My children, David and Sarah, would sometimes send money, a meager sum that never quite covered the endless needs of growing children. But I never complained. Never. Their absence, the gaping hole in their children's lives, was a burden I carried willingly, proudly. I remember one summer, Mateo was about 10 and Isabella 12. They found an old photo album filled with pictures of their parents as children, with me, young and vibrant. "Abuela," Isabella asked, her brow furrowed, "why don't Mom and Dad visit more often? Are they mad at us?" My heart broke a little then. I pulled them close, smoothing Isabella's hair, tickling Mateo's chin. "No, my loves," I'd said, my voice as steady as I could make it. "They love you very much. They're just very busy. Their jobs keep them away. But I'm here. I convinced them, not just for their sake, but for mine too. I needed to believe it, that my own children, David and Sarah, loved me, even if their actions spoke differently. I needed to believe they recognized my sacrifice, my devotion. Those years were the fullest of my life. The house, usually so quiet after my husband passed, buzzed with life, with noise, with the joyous chaos of childhood. Dinners were loud affairs, filled with stories from school, silly jokes, and debates about who got the last piece of pie. Isabella, always a chatterbox, would recount her day in vivid detail, while Mateo, more reserved, would share snippets of his latest adventure or discovery. I learned to navigate video games to bond with Mateo, and to discuss pop music with Isabella, even if I preferred my classical tunes. I was an active participant in their lives, not just an observer. I helped them with their homework, stayed up late for parent-teacher conferences when David and Sarah couldn't make it, cheered them on at sports days, comforted them after teenage heartbreaks. My children never quite had time for their own children, but I made time. Every single moment of my life became theirs. It was a conscious choice, a loving surrender, and I wouldn't trade those memories for anything. Those years, they were my everything. They were proof that even a broken family could be mended, rebuilt with enough love. I had poured my entire soul into raising those 2 children, expecting nothing in return but their happiness. I truly believed we were an unbreakable family, forged in love and shared moments. It didn't happen all at once. It was gradual, like a plant dying without water, petal by petal, hope by hope. First, the phone calls became shorter, then the visits, then the silence. The first true whisper of abandonment came on Isabella's 18th birthday. I had spent weeks knitting her a delicate shawl, a soft sky blue color I knew she loved. Bought a tiny silver locket with a picture of us when she was a little girl inside. I baked her favorite lemon cake, just like I used to when she was little. The house filled with that sweet, familiar scent. I waited by the phone all day. Every time it rang, my old heart would leap, only to fall back into my chest when it was a telemarketer or a wrong number. Mateo had called earlier. A quick, distracted, Happy birthday, Abuela? He'd already forgotten it wasn't my birthday, but his sister's. Isabella never called. Not one text, not a word. The cake went uneaten. The shawl remained unworn. That night, I cried into her locket. The small, smiling face of my little Isabella, a painful echo of a love I thought was unconditional. Then came the conversation. David, my son, called one Tuesday afternoon, his voice carefully modulated. Too calm. "Mom," he started. "Sarah and I have been talking. You're getting older. The house is big, a lot to manage. We found a lovely place for you, a nursing home. It has activities, nurses round the clock. It's really for your own good, Mom." My own good? My home, where I had raised 3 generations, where Matteo had taken his first steps and Isabella had learned to read, was suddenly too big. I could hear Sarah in the background, a faint murmur about peace of mind and best intentions. My heart hammered against my ribs. But my garden, David, my roses, and the memories. My voice trailed off, a pathetic whimper. "We'll visit, Mom," he said quickly, almost rehearsed. "And the grandchildren will too." But their voices were absent from that call. "No, Abuela, don't go," from Isabella. "No, we'll take care of you," from Matteo. Just the cold, clinical assessment of my son and daughter-in-law. The day of the move was a blur of efficiency and heartbreak. Strangers packed my life into boxes, their hands uncaring as they handled precious memories. I stood in the doorway of my empty living room, the one where Isabella used to dance and Matteo would build his fortresses. I saw Matteo's little wooden horse, the one he carved with such pride, sitting on the mantelpiece, and Isabella's old worn copy of Anne of Green Gables, her name scrawled on the inside cover, lay on the floor. I reached for them, my hands trembling, but a young man in a uniform gently steered me away. "We need to go, ma'am," he said, his voice polite but firm. "Everything else will be taken care of." They were left behind. My precious mementos, left behind in a house that would soon be locked and emptied of me. I felt like I was being erased, not just from my home, but from their lives. "We'll be back soon, Abuela," Matteo had promised, his eyes avoiding mine as he hugged me quickly at the entrance of the new facility. Isabella just nodded, a small, tight smile on her face. "Next week," she added, her voice barely a whisper. "That was 3 years ago. 3 years, Isabella. My little dancer, my bright star. 3 years, Matteo, my little builder, my brave sheep. Next week never came. My son David and Sarah, they came for a few months, their visits dwindling from once a week to once a month, then to sporadic phone calls that always ended with an excuse. Too busy, Mom. Work is crazy. Kids have school. My children, the ones I had raised, the ones whose children I had poured my life into, had finally found a way to make me disappear. The silence here is the cruelest sound. It allows my mind to wander, to pick apart every memory, every sacrifice, searching for the moment I made a mistake. Did I love them too much? Was I too much of a burden? I still pay for Matteo's old car insurance, you know. He said he couldn't afford it, but I see pictures of him on social media, vacationing with his friends, living a life of luxury. And Isabella, my little Isabella, she posts about her dance career, her beautiful outfits, never mentioning the old woman who sewed her first leotards by hand. I watch their lives unfold from afar, a ghost in the periphery. My phone, once a lifeline, now just a decorative brick on my nightstand. Sometimes I pretend to call them, just to hear their recorded voices, to imagine them picking up, to hear them say, "Abuela?" It's a foolish game, a desperate attempt to fill the gaping hole in my heart. The nurses are kind. They try to engage me, but they aren't family. They don't know the smell of my baking, the stories from my garden. They don't know the depth of my love or the depth of my pain. I still have that old camcorder tape of Matteo as the wobbly sheep. I asked the nurse to play it for me once. I watched his clumsy little steps, his earnest bleat, and I saw myself in the audience, clapping loudest of all, a memory, vibrant and alive, contrasting starkly with the cold, sterile walls of this room. And Isabella's spelling bee trophy. I heard it was thrown out when they cleared the house. My granddaughter, who would have made me so proud. They simply erased me, and with me, all the evidence of the life we built together. I still have the letters they wrote to me as children, with crayon drawings and declarations of love. Abuela, you're the best. I love you more than chocolate. I read them over and over, trying to find the children I once knew, the ones who promised to stay by my side. But they're gone, replaced by strangers who happen to share their names and their faces. But what I found out later, that's what truly broke my heart into pieces. The days here blur into one long, echoing emptiness. I wake up, usually to the dim, artificial light filtering through the blinds. Another sunrise I don't truly see. The first thing I notice isn't the birds singing, or the scent of coffee, or the promise of a new day. It's the silence, a heavy, suffocating blanket that smothers any small spark of hope before it can ignite. My bones ache, not just with age, but with the weight of unshared moments, unasked questions. The nurse comes, always the same kind face, always the same gentle questions. But her eyes hold pity, not love. It's a pity I've grown accustomed to, a pity that reminds me I'm just another forgotten soul in this place. Breakfast is a bland affair, lukewarm oatmeal or toast that tastes like cardboard. I eat slowly, not because I enjoy it, but because it's something to do. A small act of rebellion against the inevitability of the day. I watch the few other residents, some lost in their own worlds, others staring blankly ahead. No one talks much. What is there to say when every day mirrors the last? After breakfast, I make my way to the window, the ritual I cling to. I watch the children playing in the park across the street, their laughter like tiny sharp shards of glass piercing through my carefully constructed calm. Their parents are always there, hands held, eyes bright with affection. I see a young boy, maybe Mateo's age when he first came to me, chasing a ball, his grandmother cheering him on. My chest tightens. The coldness of the glass against my forehead is a familiar comfort, a small anchor in the ocean of my loneliness. The afternoons are the longest. Some residents nap, some watch television, but I can't. My mind is too busy. A restless bird trapped in a cage, flitting from one memory to another. I read the same book, reread the same letters from Isabella and Mateo when they were tiny. The crayon scrawls now faded, the declarations of love a cruel joke. I traced the outlines of their names, whispering them into the stillness. Mateo, my Mateo. Isabella, my little Isabella. The room is always cold, a chill that seeps into my bones and settles in my heart, no matter how high the thermostat is set. It's not just the temperature, it's the absence of warmth, the warmth of laughter, of touch, of a familiar voice. Dinner is just like breakfast, a chore. Then the long drawn-out hours until sleep, if it comes, a fitful escape punctuated by the ache of my empty arms. I used to fall asleep to the sounds of their breathing in the next room. Now it's just the hum of the ventilator from down the hall, a constant chilling reminder of mortality and solitude. One afternoon a few months ago, a moment shattered this monotonous routine, leaving me more broken than I thought possible. I was sitting in the small common area, pretending to read a magazine, my ears always straining for any sound that might break the silence. David, my son, was there, a rare, almost unprecedented visit. He was on his phone talking to someone, his voice a little louder than usual, trying to project an image. He hadn't noticed me tucked away in the corner, obscured by a potted plant. "Yes, of course, I visit Mom constantly," he said, his voice smooth, confident, utterly devoid of truth. "Just saw her yesterday, actually. She's doing wonderfully, you know, making sure she's comfortable. Everything's taken care of. Family is everything, right? Especially when they get to this age. We make sure she feels loved, always." He even chuckled, a light, carefree sound. My blood ran cold. Yesterday? He hadn't been here in 3 months. He hadn't called in 2. My breath caught in my throat. A painful gasp I swallowed down. He was painting a picture, a beautiful, loving portrait of a devoted son. But it was a cruel masterpiece built on lies. He was selling a fantasy, not just to the person on the other end of the line, but to himself, perhaps. My son, the one I had raised, the one for whom I had sacrificed everything, was actively lying about my abandonment, not just passively forgetting me, but fabricating a life of care and attention that simply didn't exist. The words echoed in my head, each one a hammer blow to my heart. She feels loved, always, a bitter, ironic twist. The silence in the room, usually so painful, was suddenly filled with the deafening roar of his deceit. If you think that's sad, what happened next broke me completely. He turned, finally saw me, and his face contorted a flash of surprise, then something akin to panic. "Oh, Mom, I didn't see you there," he said, his voice suddenly strained, his eyes darting away. He ended the call abruptly, mumbled something about a business emergency, and was gone within minutes, leaving behind the lingering stench of his lie. It wasn't just the fact that he was lying, it was the brazenness of it. The cold, calculating way he used my supposed well-being as a talking point for his image. It wasn't about me. It was never about me. It was about him. My existence had become a convenient prop in his narrative of success and filial devotion. The phone, once a symbol of connection, had become an instrument of betrayal. My son was using me, even in my absence, even in my abandonment, to polish his own reputation. It felt like being stripped bare, exposed to the world not as a beloved mother, but as a mere convenience. That night, sleep refused to come. My body lay heavy, but my mind was in turmoil. Every sacrifice, every late night, every penny stretched, every hopeful word I had ever uttered to Matteo and Isabella about their busy parents, it all came crashing down. The words, "She feels loved always," they were a mockery. I finally understood. The abandonment wasn't an oversight. It wasn't a mistake. It was a conscious choice, reinforced by a carefully constructed facade of lies. And it was at that moment that I started to wonder, where did I go wrong? I spent months asking myself, where did I go wrong? Where did I, Elena, fail as a mother, as a grandmother, that my own flesh and blood would cast me aside like an old worn-out blanket? Every night I replayed memories, searching for a single misstep, a harsh word, a moment of neglect. Was I too strict? Too lenient? Did I smother them with too much love? Or perhaps not enough? The silence of this room became a cruel echo chamber for my self-recrimination, until a letter, a single envelope, changed the question to, what have they become? It was a Tuesday afternoon, as grey and muted as every other day here. Nurse Maria, bless her heart, had found an old battered cardboard box in the storage room, one of the few things they'd salvaged from my house. A box marked, Abuelo's papers. I hadn't even remembered it. "Maybe some old photos, Elena," she'd said kindly, setting it on my small rickety table. My hands, gnarled and trembling with age, fumbled with the lid. Inside, beneath faded newspaper clippings and sepia photographs of my beloved husband, Miguel, I found a thick, cream-colored envelope, sealed with a broken wax seal, and Miguel's neat, strong handwriting, "For Elena, to be opened only after my passing, should you ever need guidance." My heart leaped, a mix of apprehension and a strange, sudden hope. Miguel, always so thoughtful, so prescient. Even in death, he looked out for me. I tore the seal gently, my breath catching in my throat. Inside were not one, but several documents, folded neatly. A copy of Miguel's last will and testament, dated just weeks before he passed, and a long handwritten letter, his familiar script filling the pages. He had known. My Miguel, my wise, loving husband, had seen the shadows of greed forming in our children, David and Sarah. Even then, he had made specific provisions, a trust for my care, independent of David's management. The house was to be held in my name, with specific clauses for the grandchildren, Isabella and Matteo, once they reached adulthood, to prevent it from being sold or squandered. He wrote of his fears that David would seek to simplify things after his death, by which he meant control them, manipulate me. He'd even attached copies of bank statements from years ago, showing how David had already tried, subtly, to gain access to our savings. under the guise of helping us invest. It was all there, laid bare, a cold, hard truth that pierced through the fog of my grief and longing. What I'm about to reveal explains everything, and it will break your heart. My hands shook, uncontrollably now, as I read on. Miguel's letter detailed how he had tried to talk to David, to warn him against avarice, but David had dismissed his concerns, promising to honor his father's wishes. But the accompanying legal documents, dated months after Miguel's passing, told a different story. They were papers, notarized and filed, that effectively bypassed Miguel's carefully constructed trust and transferred the deed of my house, my home, directly into David and Sarah's names. My signature was there, faint and shaky, but undeniably mine. I remember signing some papers after Miguel died, David telling me they were just administrative necessities, things to make my life easier. I was grieving, lost, trusting. I never read them closely. How could I have known? How could I have imagined my own children, my son David, would exploit my vulnerability, my sorrow, to strip me of everything? The pain wasn't a sudden sharp stab, but a slow, agonizing realization, like a poison spreading through my veins. It wasn't about the money or the house itself. It was the betrayal, the calculated deceit, the utter contempt for their own father's dying wishes, and for my trust. This wasn't the, "Mom, you're getting older, the house is big" narrative they fed me. This was a calculated seizure of assets, a systematic dismemberment of my financial independence, leading directly to my placement here, where I would no longer be a nuisance or a hindrance to their newly acquired wealth. I had wondered where I went wrong. Now I knew. I hadn't gone wrong. They had. They had become something I barely recognized, something Miguel had feared. They weren't just neglecting me. They had actively orchestrated my downfall. My sweet Isabella, my Mateo. Did they know? Were they complicit in their parents' deception, or simply ignorant of the dark undercurrents that led to their abuela being locked away in this sterile room? My heart ached for them, not with anger, but with a profound, crushing sorrow. This wasn't the legacy I wanted for them, for my grandchildren, whom I had poured my very soul into raising. This wasn't the kind of family I had built. Miguel, my loving husband, had foreseen this greed, had tried to protect me, to protect our legacy for the true inheritors of our love, Isabella and Mateo. But his efforts had been undermined, his words ignored, his will circumvented by his own children. The dark secret wasn't just a hidden truth. It was the rot at the core of my family, exposed by the very hand of my husband. The tears that streamed down my face weren't for myself, not entirely. They were for Miguel, for the purity of his intentions, cruelly mocked by his own flesh and blood. They were for Isabella and Mateo, for the twisted inheritance of avarice they would unwittingly carry, a legacy far more damaging than any sum of money. The house, my garden, the memories, they were all just instruments in their game. I held the papers, the will, Miguel's earnest, hopeful letter, a silent testament to a love that had been stomped on, a trust that had been shattered. I didn't want revenge. I never wanted revenge. What good would it do? It couldn't bring back the laughter, the warmth, the family I thought I had. It wouldn't mend my broken heart, but it gave me clarity. It shifted my perspective from self-blame to a stark, painful understanding of their actions. My hands, though still trembling, grew steady with a new resolve. I didn't reach for the phone to call David to confront him. What would be the point? His lies were already well rehearsed. I didn't even consider tearing up the documents in a fit of despair. No, these were my proof, my silent weapon. These papers, held carefully in my lap, were the final piece of the puzzle, the devastating consequence of their ambition and deceit. I carefully folded Miguel's letter, placing it back in the envelope with the other documents. I placed the envelope inside a worn leather Bible I kept on my nightstand, a secret hidden in plain sight. No one would find it there. No one would suspect. My heart, though heavy, found a quiet strength. The game they thought they had won, the narrative they had constructed, was about to be undone. not with anger, but with the quiet, devastating power of truth. With this truth in my hands, there's only one thing left for me to say before the end. And now, the message that could change the life of whoever is watching. If you're watching this, and you have elderly parents, grandparents, or even just an old neighbor who lives alone, please listen to what an old woman has to say. One day, if you're lucky enough to reach my age, you might find yourself in my place, staring at nothing, at these 4 sterile walls, waiting for a visit that never comes, a phone call that never rings. You'll understand then that all the money in the world, all the success, all the busy schedules, they mean absolutely nothing when you are facing the end alone. I used to think I wanted to understand why David, my son, did what he did. Why Isabella and Mateo, my precious grandchildren, abandoned me. Now, with Miguel's truth in my hands, I understand their reasons, twisted and self-serving as they are. But understanding doesn't heal the ache. It just changes the flavor of the pain. What I truly long for, what would be like winning the lottery for me, is something so simple, so free. A 5-minute phone call, just to hear their voices, to know they're well. A photo of my grandchildren, Isabella dancing, Mateo playing his guitar, sent to my nurse so she can show me. An unexpected, unprompted, "I love you, abuela." It costs nothing. Absolutely nothing. And yet, it feels like the most expensive, most unattainable treasure in the world. I remember Mateo, my Mateo, once telling me he was too busy to visit because he had to work extra hours to buy a new car. And Isabella, my little Isabella, sending ME a text saying she was flying to Paris for a dance workshop. I'm not asking for Paris. I'm not asking for a new car. I'm asking for 5 minutes. 5 minutes to tell them that I still love them, that I remember every single one of our shared moments, that those memories, those moments of love and laughter, are what truly matter. Not the house they took, not the money they stole, but the warmth of a shared meal, the comfort of a bedtime story, the pride in their achievements. Those are the only treasures I carry with me in this lonely room. And I would trade them all for one last, real hug. Please, don't leave it for later. Later might be too late. Hug your parents. Tell them you love them. Today. Today. Because you never know when the opportunity will slip through your fingers. Like sand in an hourglass. I know this intimately. Just last week, after a routine checkup, the doctor, a young man with kind eyes, sat me down. He spoke of my heart, weakened with age, tired from a lifetime of worry and love. He said I have very little time left. Days, weeks, perhaps a few months if I'm lucky. My heart, the one that broke when David lied, when Isabella and Mateo forgot, is simply giving out. It's not a dramatic collapse, but a gentle fading, a slow goodnight. I haven't told David, or Sarah. What would be the point? Another inconvenience for them to manage. Another excuse for a fleeting visit. And a public show of grief. My heart, my tired heart, still beats with one last flicker of hope. I keep Miguel's letters, my proof, tucked safely away. Not for revenge, no. Revenge is a bitter meal I have no appetite for. But for truth, for my Mateo, for my Isabella, so they might know what their abuela endured, and what their parents truly did. I want them to know, not for my sake, but for theirs, so they can choose a different path, a path of love and honesty, not of greed and deception. I still have hope of seeing my son, my daughter, my precious grandchildren, Isabella and Mateo, one last time. Is that too much to ask before I close my eyes forever? Before this silence becomes my eternal companion? Before the memories become just whispers in an empty room, and Elena, your abuela, is truly gone? This was the story of Elena, one among millions of abandoned elderly people. Her heart, once full of a love so profound it encompassed generations, now beats its final, weary rhythm in silent solitude. She raised her grandchildren, Isabella and Mateo, with every fiber of her being, only to be cast aside by her own son, David, and his wife, Sarah, in a cruel act of betrayal driven by greed. The dark secret, meticulously hidden in her husband Miguel's old letters, unveiled a calculated scheme to disinherit her, to erase her presence for their own gain. Elena's only comfort in these final days is the truth, and a quiet hope that her grandchildren, Isabella and Mateo, might one day discover it and choose a different path than their parents. If this story touched your heart, if Elena's plea resonated deep within your soul, don't put off that call, that visit, until tomorrow. Don't let precious moments slip away. Time doesn't go back, and regret, as Elena knows intimately, is the only feeling that has no cure. It's a weight that can crush the spirit, a wound that never truly heals. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message, who needs a reminder of what truly matters in this fleeting life. And if you have elderly parents or grandparents, hug them for Elena. Hug them while you still can. Tell them you love them. Listen to their stories. Be their presence. Subscribe to the Portraits of Life Soul Pain channel for more stories that remind us of the profound value of family, compassion, and the urgent need to cherish those who once cherished us. Don't let another Elena suffer in silence.